If you all in the chat could just tell me real quick if you can see me and hear me well before we begin this live garden meetup. This live garden meetup is more specifically for my seed subscription members. So part of being a subscriber to my seed club, we have these members only type of garden classes. And we kind of review the seeds that were just shipped, I can answer all your questions and just kind of give some guidance about this particular seeds that we just shipped with the last delivery, which was for our spring 2026 seed collection. So I have my other phone here so I can follow the chat. If you all could just let me know real quick if you can hear me and see me properly, please, before I begin. And I also have some updates and some news for you all that might be interesting. Thank you, Gwen, so much for confirming that. But anyways, it's a beautiful day here in Florida. I am very, very happy that I garden in Florida. I trade, well, anyways, fall, winter, and spring are like the best time you can grow pretty much anything, like the cool season stuff and even some of the tropical stuff. So I kind of trade off 9 months in a row of like the best ideal weather for about 3 months in a row during the summer of just like super intense, crazy stuff. But it's worth it. And I'm so happy to be in my garden. It is January. Not very many people can say that it's a beautiful day like this and everything's green in January. So anyways, let's get started. Like I said, I do different kinds of live garden classes on my YouTube channel, but this one is specifically for my Seed Club subscriber members. So I'm definitely going to be answering their questions. That's the priority. If you're not a member and you ask a question and I have time during this, I'll answer it. But just know this is really for them. If you have any questions that I miss or something, or you're not a seed subscriber, then send me an email and I'll try to answer your question that way. And in the description of this class is a link if you want to check out how to subscribe, what are the different plan options, how does that all work. So you can go click on that. I'm still shipping out. I still have some more of the spring seeds ready and like they can be shipped out, and it's not too late to get on that, especially if you're like in a colder climate and your springtime doesn't start until after your, final frost. And for some of you that could be like March, April, May, that kind of thing. So definitely still time to get in on there. And if you ask a question in the chat, please put your garden zone and state. That really, really helps me answer that question for you to the best of my ability. So something I want to say really quick, and this is for my Seed Club members only. Last year I went to Costa Rica and I did a course, a permaculture course, and I got certified. So I'm a certified permaculture designer. I just wanted to get some kind of education background, certificate related to gardening. So I went to this course because I have a degree, but it's in medical stuff. It has nothing to do with what I'm actually passionate about. So it was just a personal goal, and I went there. The exact course was called, was hosted by Finca Tierra in Costa Rica. They have a website. It was great. It was such a great time. Highly recommend that if you want to get like a deeper understanding of just working with nature and growing food with it instead of against it, and being more self-sustainable and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, so ever since I took that course, I've been thinking of how can I implement like what I learned and help other people, in that realm, or like garden design and stuff like that, or like consultations. And I get asked that all the time. Like, hey, do you have a service where you come in person or maybe virtual, whatever? I need some guidance with my garden. How do I get started? What do I need to build? Where do I plant stuff? Like all that kind of stuff. And up until now, I've declined it because I do have a full-time job Monday through Friday. I work at a pharmacy, and so that leaves me the weekends to do that kind of stuff. And I already struggle with like workaholism. So my weekends, I have to like be like, I'm not doing any work at all. I'm not looking at my emails. I'm not fulfilling orders. I'm not doing nothing, right? I have to take that time off. But I want to start this service, and I need some people for free. This is for free. That would like me to come and do maybe like a site evaluation on their property and kind of give you some guidance with whatever your goals are, what's going on your property, to help me get my feet wet and just kind of practice and maybe have some like before and afters or something. I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but I need to get started somewhere. It's the new year, and I definitely want to start offering that kind of a service. So if you're a Seed Club subscriber, I'm only offering this to you guys. I'm looking for 1 to 3 people that are close to me. Sorry, you have to be close to me so I don't have to like drive. I'm not going to drive out far. That would like me to come visit, and we'll chit chat about your garden and maybe like whatever you want to talk about, whatever you need help with. So if you're interested, please send me an email, info@jarrahsgarden.com. And again, this is for my Seed Club members only. And let me know. I'm looking for people that have a property size of something like a 1/4 acre lot, which is what I have here on my home, or up to about 1 acre, something like that kind of range. And we would chit chat, and I'll tour your area for maybe about an hour. And so I'm looking for people that are kind of local, so I can do this on the weekend very easily. We'll schedule a day and a time for it. And just to give you idea what local is for me, I'm in Orlando. If you all know where Gatorland is, I'm very close to Gatorland. So if you're within 20 to 30 minutes from Gatorland or the St. Cloud area, because my aunt lives over there and I go towards that direction a lot. She's located off Deer Run Road, if you know where that is. So you'd be a great person that I can go practice this on and chit chat and see where this goes and help me figure out what I want to do with this, because I really am passionate. I want to help people, garden to the best of their ability. It's fun for me too to just go and chit chat gardening stuff and help someone plan their garden. So if that's you, if you're in that area, those areas, and you have some time, we can schedule that out on, my aunt's calling me. I have to decline that. I'm going there today, actually. But anyways, send me an email. I'm just looking for 1, maybe 3 people, and we'll take it from there, and I'll see what I could do, how I could fit this in. She's calling me again. How I could fit this in my crazy schedule, and we'll figure it out. I can't go all the way to Boca Raton. I'm so sorry. If I'm going to do this kind of service, I'm not willing to travel. I'm just being honest with you that my schedule's already crazy. So I can't go far. I mean, maybe we could do it virtually. I've thought about that too. All right. Let's try some people I'll try to do this virtually. I don't know how that would work though. Maybe we'll Zoom and you'll walk around your property and show me. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know how people really do this, but I'm sure there's a way to do it virtually. Obviously we'd have to pick a day that's nice and clear and sunny so I could see what you have going on. But yeah. All right. So Boca Raton, if you're a member, I think you are, Mary, I recognize your name. Send me an email, info@jarrahsgarden.com, and I'll pick a couple of you and we'll see where this goes. Okay. All right. We'll try virtual then. All right. So my email is info@jarrahsgarden.com. And I believe that's also in the description of this class. By the way, there's a lot of info in the description of all my videos, all my classes. I try to think ahead. What are some things I'll mention, products, supplies, stuff. And I try to link all of that in the description so you guys can find it. But anyways, let's get started with the whole point of this live. We're going to review real quick the seeds and everything that I decided on the spring 2026 seed subscription and kind of what was all included and why I like them, why I chose them, maybe some important details you might need to know about them. And then we'll answer all your just general questions, whatever you guys want to chat about. So my seed subscription plans, there's a 6-pack version and a 12-pack. So, you know, people with larger gardens would pick like the 12-pack. So some of these, if you didn't get the seed, it's because you had the 6-pack, not the 12-pack. But anyways, let's start with what was included with this delivery. With every single delivery, you have this card. If you haven't done so already, scan this QR code, or you can type in the link if you can't scan it for some reason. And this will take you to a link tree that was set up with all of the files that go with all the seed packets. So every single seed packet has what I call a plant profile to go into detail about everything you need to know about growing that thing, whatever that crop is. Because I don't have YouTube videos yet on every single crop. Some of these videos take me like over a year to make, because seed to harvest sometimes for things take that long. So I am trying my best to get more out there, but I don't have videos on every single thing yet. So that's where the plant profiles are really important. But the most important section on that plant profile is the how or when to sow the seeds. So the very first thing you all need to do is check that out and calculate when is the correct time for you to be sowing those seeds. If you're like in Florida, the South, warm winter climates where our springtime, I feel springtime for us is now, January and February. The rest of the country is a little bit later. Then you all really need to get started on sowing your seeds. The rest of you that are in like colder climates, you have some more time. But definitely first step, go check out that little box on every single plant profile and start calculating when is the correct time for you to be starting these seeds. So this link or this QR code will take you to that link tree, and it will have all of their PDFs. You can print them if you want, whatever you want to do. Very important. There's also a link on here to planting layout designs. So I try really hard to create different planting layout ideas using the seeds that were included with the shipment to kind of help you guys plan it out, design it. What would I do with them? Stuff like that. There's even some planting layout designs for green stock garden towers, because I know a bunch of you have those too. So very helpful if you just want to kind of review that and get some inspiration on where to place everything. Very, very important. This is where you find all the files that go with your seed subscription. And if you haven't joined already, I also have a private Facebook group for the members only. To join that, you have to fill out the questions and put the email that you used when you subscribed to my seed subscription. That's how I verify that you're actually a member, because trust me, tons of people try to like get in there, but they're not actual members and I don't approve them. That Facebook group is only for the members. And I really love that group. I check it almost daily to be quick and answer your questions and stuff like that. So it's a nice way for me to, cater to your questions and serve you guys first, because people message me all over the place, on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, all that. And I do not have the bandwidth to be checking all the messages on all my social media accounts. People think I have like a team. I don't have a team. It's literally just me. I have my assistant Valentina that helps me pack orders. And I have a virtual video editor. That's it. I don't have a big team of people that help me manage these social media accounts. So if you message me there, I might not see your message for a very long time. So email is the best way to get a hold of me. Or if you're a Seed Club member, the Facebook group is great. I look at that all the time. And it's nice to see everyone posting pictures, how things are going. If you have questions, I really do appreciate a lot of the members chime in and answer the questions and share their info and experience too. So it's been a really nice little community, I think, for you guys and for me too. It's been fun. So anyways, if you can't join the Facebook group for whatever reason, or you don't use Facebook, I don't use Facebook personally. I only use it for this stuff. I totally get that. Then I try, I have you guys all on an email list too, so I can send you guys emails, updates as well. But anyways, very important card here to look at, review all that stuff. All the seeds come in an envelope for that season. And then let's get started with the seeds. Hold on, my chat just... Oh, Patricia, I see you're asking if I sell potatoes. I do not sell potatoes. I highly recommend that if you plan on growing potatoes, you get official seed potatoes from a reputable potato farmer company. Don't go to the grocery store, buy some and throw them in the ground. I don't like that at all. They're not certified disease free. So you could be introducing stuff into your garden because they're not meant to be like replanted. But anyways, there's a lot of really fantastic seed potato companies online. I can't think of the name of the one that I've purchased from before. I think they're like in the state of Maine or something. They're like up north up there, but they're really well known and they were good. But okay, anyways, so let's review the seeds. And it's funny because after I put this together, I'm like, I picked a lot of stuff that are like the color yellow for whatever reason. I don't know, whatever, but I like them. So if you got the 6-pack, this is what was included. You got golden Marconi peppers. I really, really love Marconi peppers. I think they produce well for a wide range of climates and different conditions. So that's why I included it. And then we have Taiwan sword leaf lettuce. This is a very vigorous loose leaf lettuce. The leaves are kind of thin and stiff or crunchy, similar to like a romaine, but it doesn't produce a head of romaine, which I like. So it's like a loose leaf romaine, if you could picture that. Because when you grow a vegetable that is like, for lack of better terms, like a heading vegetable, so it produces like a head of romaine or a head of broccoli or a head of cabbage, something like that, you have to wait for that head to like form before you can harvest it. But with like loose leaf things, like loose leaf lettuces and stuff like that, you can harvest, the leaves as needed. So you just get to harvest point earlier and you have an extended period of harvest too, because you're just harvesting leaves, whatever. This one also has a very good heat tolerance, which is something you have to think about with your spring garden, because as you plant your spring garden, we're going into summer. Things are going to progressively get hotter, more heat, all that. So it's good to plant things that have a heat tolerance, knowing that we're going into a hotter, time of the year. So I really like this one. I grew it a lot last year. It's great. All right, and then I picked Napa Chardonnay cherry tomatoes. I wanted to include some kind of a cherry tomato because I think they are the easiest kind of tomato you can grow, is the smaller sized ones, the cherries, the currants, grapes, stuff like that. And this one has a really pretty yellow color and it's very sweet. So I really enjoyed growing this one, and it was very prolific. Like the plants are loaded, covered in these little cherry tomatoes. So I thought it was a great variety to select for this delivery. And then I included Italian basil, since we have a couple tomato seeds. If you got the 12-pack, you got another tomato, which I'll get to. It's just really good practice to plant basil around your tomatoes. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. I do feel like they help repel some pests, and plus you're probably going to cook your tomatoes with basil a lot anyway. So I am planting up my garden with basil, all the different varieties, like all over the place, but this is just a good standard one that works for everyone, since we are growing tomatoes. I also included calendula. I try to pick at least one flower for this to give variety with the seed selection. And I picked this one because calendula isn't only a beautiful flower, it attracts beneficials, pollinators, but it's useful. You can make salves with it and a bunch of other types of things. So if you want to get into that, that's why I included it. And then I picked golden wax bush beans. This one, I think the beans are so pretty. They're yellow, golden color. You don't really see that kind of color green bean in the grocery store very often. And it's a very good producer, very beginner friendly. It's time to start direct sowing seeds for bush beans for your spring gardens. Well, if you're like in Florida or a hot climate or something like that. Some of you might have to wait a little bit longer, but of course, the plant profiles explain all of that. So yeah, so that was what was included if you got the 6-pack, why I chose them, and I hope they grow really well for you guys. And let me know how it goes, especially if you're in the Facebook group. Oh, sorry, I kicked my tripod there. If you're in the Facebook group, I'd love to see pictures of your progress throughout the season. All right, so if you got the 12-pack, what was included? And just so you know, every delivery is different. Every season is different. Yeah, I change up the seeds a lot. So, and the deliveries are based on the upcoming season. So I pick seeds not because they grow well in Florida, all right, or a hot climate, even though they do, because I grow them in my garden. I pick them according to the next upcoming season. So that way it works for everyone, even if you're located in a colder or northern state or whatever. The only difference is going to be the timing of when I would plant this compared to someone in a more northern climate, which is, again, I get really detailed in that little section of how or when to sow the seeds on the plant profiles. So my seed subscription stuff does work for everybody. It's not just Florida based or something like that. But anyways, if you got the 12-pack, I picked the Thai round purple eggplant. This, again, we're going into hotter seasons, the summer, and eggplants are perennial or long-lived annuals, if you want to look at it that way. So the plants can survive for multiple years, and so picking a heat-tolerant one is very useful. It'll help it survive the summer. And I have a tendency to like dwarf, petite, smaller sized vegetables because, again, you get to harvest point faster than the bigger sized regular versions of that vegetable. So Thai round is about the size of like between a golf ball and a softball size. And so it's very prolific. You will be harvesting a whole bunch sooner rather than later. And it's heat tolerant as well. And then I picked yellow petite kind of for like the same reasons. It's a smaller personal sized watermelon, so you'll get to harvest sooner rather than later. There's an airplane. That sounds pretty loud. I don't know how loud it sounds for you guys, but anyways, just a great overall variety. And then for another tomato for the 12-pack people, I put Marglobe. Wow, that plane is super loud. Sorry guys, I do live kind of close to the airport as well, which is really annoying when you're trying to film YouTube videos. I have to constantly stop and wait for planes to pass. And it's worse during the weekend, because as you can imagine, more people are probably traveling during the weekend. So anyways, Marglobe tomatoes is a nice beefsteak tomato, also heat tolerant, just all around really good standard red slicer tomato. So I really like that one. And then I put candy corn. This is a hybrid sweet corn. So I like to plant my sweet corn crops during the earlier portion of the year. If you're in Florida, believe it or not, we start direct sowing corn seeds towards the end of January, most of us, and into February, that kind of thing. If you're in a colder climate, you're going to wait a little bit more. But I like to plant sweet corn first, initially, in the earliest part of the year, because there's less pest and disease pressure still. We're coming out of winter, and the pest and disease pressure is just naturally more down until things start waking back up for spring and summer and all that craziness. So I like to try to grow it and get to harvest before all the pests and diseases are active again at 100%, so to speak. I find that they really like sweet corn. I'm sure there's higher sugar content in this, and just like us humans that we like sugar, I'm sure the pests also really like it. And I just find they love to attack the sweet corn. So my goal is to grow it during the time of the year where the pest and disease pressure is just kind of naturally lower. Then after I'm done harvesting my sweet corn, I will switch and transition to like maize, dent, flint, popcorn, all of those kinds of things, because I find there are much, much tougher types of corn crops, so to speak, compared to sweet corn. And the pests and diseases don't bother them as much. So those are what I will grow into like the summer and stuff like that, just so you guys are aware of the plant and why I chose this now. So plant your sweet corn now, harvest that out, and then plant all your maize, dent, all that other stuff. And then I included gray zucchini. I think the sweet spot for growing any kind of like zucchini squash, like the summer squashes, is very early spring. Again, the disease and pest pressure is just naturally lower because we're coming out of winter. So try your best to plant it early to squeeze in a harvest before the pests and diseases get crazy again. So my last average spring frost date is like February 8th, so like the second week of February, in that range. So I try to direct sow seeds for this 2 weeks before that, so that lands me January 20s, in that range, something like that. Now I know I'm still gonna get a couple cold fronts, but I got these like plastic cone things from Amazon. I'm pretty sure I linked it in the description. They're like this big or this tall, and they're like a cone shape of clear plastic. It's like a little mini greenhouse garden dome thingy, so to speak. There's cloches, I think, if I'm saying that correctly, is another word for that stuff. And they have like a little hole in the bottom, and you just pin some landscape hooks and it stays in place, which is really helpful because if you get a cold front, most likely there's a lot of wind with that too, and it will just like knock over all of your cold protection stuff or whatever, unless you have it secured down really well. So I find that those little cone things are really helpful. So I do know that I will get a couple more nights of some cold, and these are cold sensitive, but if I put a little cone on it, they're fine for that night or two or whatever until I get through. But that gives them a big head start on the season. I can grow summer squash, zucchinis, all that stuff with virtually zero pest problems, which says a lot because I'm in Florida and we have the worst pests. If you're not in Florida, you don't understand. You don't understand. If you manage to like harvest something in Florida, you did it very well. You got something down very well because we have a lot of challenges here to grow food. It is awesome. We can grow a lot of it, but there's definitely a battle against the pests and diseases. So again, all these seeds, the stuff that I offer on my website, they're tried and true. I've grown them in my garden, and I could say if they grow in my garden, they'll definitely grow in yours. But anyways, being able to grow squash type stuff without pests is like a miracle almost for us. I would say that squash and tomatoes are the top two most difficult crops to grow for gardeners because they are the most susceptible to the most amount of pests and diseases. But once you try them out and you gain some experience and you learn how to overcome the pests and the diseases, then you're fine. Like, it's easy. You got it down pat. You can do this. If you can grow tomatoes and squash, you can grow everything else, in my opinion, because you've mastered how to control those diseases and pests. So anyways, I like gray zucchini because this is very early producing, so you'll get a harvest way sooner compared to some other varieties. And it's just an all-around really good zucchini in terms of flavor and everything. The last one included in the 12-pack was cosmic purple carrots, so we still have time to direct sow carrots and get a harvest before things get too hot. And I kind of lean towards darker colored vegetables sometimes, like purple or black, because they also just naturally have a higher heat tolerance as well. So that's why I picked this one. It's a really pretty carrot too. The outside is like a purpley hue, and then the inside is like orangey, like a normal carrot. It's just pretty and unique, and you don't find that kind of stuff in the grocery store. So anyways, that is all of the seeds that were included with the spring 2026 delivery, and I still have more subscriptions if anyone joins. Today I'll ship those out right away. And then also just a special one-time thing I've done for this particular delivery, I included a calendar magnet. So I designed this myself. I wanted to include something special, a free gift this time in the seed subscription, because it marks 1 year since I've launched my seed subscription, and I've had a lot of fun with it and really enjoyed doing it. So I just wanted to say thank you with something that was kind of useful, and I thought a calendar would be great going into the new year and everything. So people were asking me at the very bottom, because there's some dates that are circled in blue and some in red. At the very bottom, it explains what it is. The blue ones are national holidays, like national USA recognized holidays. And the red ones are ship dates for the seed subscriptions. So you guys can just keep track. The reason why I pick, like the next one is shipping out March 20th. The reason why I picked the 20th is because March 20th is the official start of spring. So I like to ship one season ahead. That way everyone has plenty of time to start your seeds in advance indoors and all that stuff if you have to. So on March 20th, that's the official day of spring now, but I'm shipping the summer pack at that point. So we are one season ahead. So that's how it works. So March 20th, June 20th, September 20th, December 20th. That's why I chose those dates specifically. One thing just to let my seed subscribers know that we've kind of changed up with the last one. We are starting the process of printing out the shipping labels for your seed subscriptions in advance. That just helps us because if not, my system will trigger all the labels to like print out on the 20th. And that gives me like just that day to like pack up everything and ship it all out, which is like impossible for just me to manage all that. So what I've started doing is, for example, this next one coming up in March. On March 1st, I will start printing out all of the shipping labels. That will generate a tracking number, and I'm sure you guys get like notices, probably through email, of like tracking numbers. However, it's not going to ship on March 1st. I will ship it out between March 1st, the latest date being March 20th. If I have it all ready to go, then I'll work on it and just ship them out early. But definitely no later than the 20th. So just so you know, the shipping labels are printing in advance, which generates a tracking number, and you will get a notification about it, but there won't be any updates on that tracking number or until it actually is like in transit, actually shipped out. It's just the only way I could think of for me to be able to get a head start on it and work on it, you know, in advance, and not be stuck with like having to ship out a bunch of orders on one day, which is very, very stressful and just like impossible for me. Again, I'm just a one-person team here. I do have my assistant Valentina that helps me pack orders, so obviously she was helping me with this, but that's kind of what we figured. So I did get a lot of people like email me and ask me like, hey, I got a tracking number, but my thing hasn't shipped for, I don't know, a week or two. What's going on? And I had to like explain that. So just wanting to give you guys a heads up. That's what we're going to do going forward. Okay. So this magnet calendar was included with the spring delivery only. So if you're not a member, hurry up and subscribe and you'll get this too. I will try to, you know, include other freebies and stuff as if I can find stuff or ideas with the subscriptions as time goes on, but that's why I did it for this one. It was just marking the new year and 1 year since initiating my seed subscription. Okay, so that is everything that was included with the delivery. Let me go back through the comments here. Idali is asking if it's too late to sow the Napa tomato seeds in zone 10A. No, it's not. I'm also zone 10A. No, it's not. Cherry tomatoes are very fast from seed to harvest. You can sow the seeds for those right now. And same thing with the Marglobe, in case you got the 12 pack and you got the Marglobe tomato. That's also a very early producing one, and you still have time if you want to get them in the ground. But I would sow the seeds now, like now. I do have a YouTube video just about how I sow my tomato seeds, specifically like the whole method, every step, everything. Excuse me. All of the supplies and stuff that I use to get them to grow fast into nice, healthy transplants. So that will be very useful for you if you haven't seen that already. So if you click on the link with the seed subscription, that takes you to the link tree with all the files. I also, if I have a video, existing video, I will link that there too. And I know that I linked that tomato, how to sow tomato seeds video in there. So you guys can find it and get started with that. Idali's also, Idali probably. I'm sorry if I've been saying it wrong. The bush beans, so beans in general as a crop, they are direct sowed only. They're not something that you would start indoors or anything like that because they have a taproot that doesn't like to get disturbed if you transplant them. However, there's exceptions. Let's say that you have rabbits that come or some critter and they munch on all your seedlings. So that happens. That's happened to me with beans before. They like to eat those bean seedlings. Then you can get like a 72 cell seed tray and plant 1 bean seed per little seed tray, and then like grow them indoors or whatever, so that way the critters don't eat them. But you have to transplant them before they get root bound, because if they get root bound, now the root system's like jacked up and it will stunt the growth and the production of, I thought I saw a snake. I know I saw him earlier. I have black garden snakes. I mean, I'm in Florida, it's no surprise. Anyways, it's fine. He's out here somewhere today. You just have to make sure that you transplant that little plug that you've basically grown into the garden before it gets like really wrapped up root systems and stuff. I find that the sweet spot is like at the 3-week mark. Same thing with corn, by the way. The best way to grow these things is direct sowing the seeds. But in certain instances, like with the critters and whatever, you can do them indoors in 1 seed per 72 cell seed tray. Grow out a little plug and then transplant those plugs into your garden at around the 3-week mark and you'll be fine. But if you can, always go with direct sowing those seeds. Chris is asking me if subscriptions auto renew or do we get notices to renew. I think that it sends a notice. I don't know, maybe you guys can answer that. I can't see like what the subscription side looks like for you guys. I'm pretty sure it does send emails out like before it's going to charge you again, whatever. Some of you got like the year plan where you get charged once a year, and some of you got like the quarterly, so you would get charged every 3 months before the next shipment. I'm pretty sure, I'm sure maybe some of you can answer that in there for him. I'm pretty sure it sends some kind of like automated email thing to let you know beforehand that it's going to charge. I'm not sure if when you subscribe, if it just defaults to like auto renewals. But I do know you can log into your subscription account and manage it and change things if you have to, whatever. To log into that, you would go to my website. The top right corner has like these like 4 little icons. They're not labeled, but it's like a little person icon. And you click that. That means like to log into your account. So you log in there with the email you used when you subscribed, and I'm sure you guys set your own password and all that kind of stuff. And you can manage your whole subscription in there and make changes or whatever you want to do. So that's what I recommend there. Some of you have had some odd issues with the subscription thing. So I use an app that runs the subscription. It's called Appsol. Some of you have had some issues that I've had to like work through with the app. So if you have an issue or it's not letting you update your method of payment or something like that, was one that happened a couple days ago with someone. Let me know, because I have to like contact them and get IT involved and whatever and figure out what the problem is. Or if you can't find something, let me know and I'll try and see what I can do. All right, so Renee is asking me for the corn, can they be direct sown in a 17-inch raised bed or should they just go in the earth? 17 inches is a nice tall bed. That is completely fine. I would say the smallest depth, so to speak, that I would put corn in, because it is a very tall plant. They get like 6 to 8 foot tall. They have decent root systems. Probably no less than about a 10-inch depth of a bed there to give them space, I would recommend. You can plant them, technically, you can plant them in containers, in grow bags, whatever. Just know that corn is a wind-pollinated crop, and they need to be planted all together. So don't plant like just one corn over here and then another corn plant over there. They need to be all together in a nice block. However you fashion that block is up to you. You can take a whole bunch of grow bags and put them all together and do that. For the grow bags, I would probably stick to the same spacing as if you were in ground or in a raised bed. So for this corn, I think I said space them like 8 inches apart or 6 to 8 inches apart. So just eyeball it and do that to the best of your ability within all the grow bags or containers that you have together. I do not recommend growing corn in a green star garden tower though. Not at all. I don't think that will work well at all. It has got too big of a root system, and if it gets constricted, it will not produce well for you. It will get stunted in height, and if it doesn't get to that nice tall height, it's not going to produce nice ears of corn for you. So don't grow them in that. But definitely, let's say a grow bag, I would recommend a nice deeper sized one. So you're probably talking 15 gallon to 20 gallon or more, just so you can make sure that depth is pretty deep. And then space them 6 to 8 inches apart. Kanish Glover is asking if I've planted red candy corn. I haven't planted red candy corn. I'm not sure if that's the correct variety name. This candy corn is a yellow colored corn. There is a double red corn, which I have planted before, and I do have seeds for that on my website. That one is kind of multicolored, like from white to red, dark burgundy colors. Sometimes it can be all dark red burgundy. It's a good one. It's sweet too. Okay, I guess I asked or answered your questions. Oh, okay. I guess Chris is confirming that it does default to auto renewal unless changed. Okay, so if you need to take it off auto renewal or whatever, I've even seen some people can skip a delivery. Like, let's say you didn't want to get the fall one or something, you could skip it. But you guys got to do that all within your logging in into the account. Oh, interesting. I personally have not heard of the red candy corn variety, but that sounds really interesting, and I'm gonna go look that up after this. Thank you for letting me know. Mary's asking, can zone 11A direct sow the seeds or start some inside? I'm pretty sure you have like virtually no frost, and it is pretty safe for you to just go ahead and direct sow seeds for all of this stuff if you wanted to. If you're in a frost-free area or you're past your last average spring frost date, go right ahead. You're completely fine. This winter has been extremely mild. I don't know about you guys up north that get snow and stuff, but like I've barely had any cold. Like this week has been the first week where it's gotten down to around the 30s, which is the coldest it'll get in my area for zone 10A. And okay. So yeah, it came pretty late this year. And it's just been really mild, which is totally fine by me. But what that means though, if you don't get a cold winter, the pests and diseases haven't been knocked down very much. So I'm going to forecast the summer is going to be insane with the pests and diseases if we don't have that cycle of the cold. That's why you guys up north don't have the intense diseases and pests like we do in the south. You guys get cold weather, cold enough to kill like fungus spores, to kill the little larvae and eggs for whatever pests are hibernating in your garden, or even root knot nematodes, because your soil might freeze over and they can't survive in that. So in Florida, that's definitely a problem for us. So I'm going to forecast we're going to have a lot of pests and diseases if we don't get a nice cold winter, or at least as cold as it usually gets. Elisette, if I said that correctly, you're asking for storage tips on seeds. This is pretty much standard for any kind of seed. The best place to store them is in a cool, dry, dark place. Dark is really important because sunlight will mess with them and cause them not to, be active or store as long. Same thing if they're exposed to moisture or something like that. It might cause them to maybe pre-germinate or something, and then they can't fully germinate because they're not like planted actually, and then that degrades the seed. And then heat is going to definitely degrade the seed. So the colder you can store them, the better. So yeah. And most seeds will last for a couple years if stored properly. There are some crops that depend on very fresh seeds to get good germination, like papaya seeds, for example. If you scrape out some papaya seeds out of a fruit and you plant them immediately, you're probably going to get really good germination on all of those. But if you like dry out the seed and then come back to it months later, not so much. And that seems to be the case for a lot of tropical fruit trees like that, like cacao, rambutan, mangoes, stuff like that. If you want to try growing those from seed, I find that a lot of the tropical things, really you need to use fresh seeds and plant them right away. Mary, if you've never seen a frost, you are good to go. You can plant all of that stuff right now. Yeah, it's going to heat up real quick for you guys. I'm assuming you're like in South Florida or something, or on the coast. Yeah, it gets hot for you guys real fast. So go ahead and plant all of that stuff right away. If you're planting any greens or cool season stuff, you might want to consider putting them in a spot that gets a lot of bright morning sun, so they still get like full sun, but afternoon shade, because afternoon sun is the hardest, the most harsh on the plants, the most intense. So that will just help like your cool season stuff, especially if you're doing the lettuce or like kale or stuff like that, just last a little bit longer. So you find thinning hard to do, so do I. So do I. I struggle really hard with thinning carrots. That's probably the hardest because they're so tiny. But yeah, yeah, you got to be careful. I know some people use tweezers to like pick one by one if you want to do that. When it comes to like tomatoes and stuff, I have a tendency to start them indoors, like in solo cups, so that's easier for me to control. I just put 2 seeds, sometimes I put 3, and if all 3 of them germinate, I will plant the whole thing like that. That is fine. But definitely carrots do suffer if you don't thin those out. That's a little bit different. That's a root crop. It needs the space in the soil to expand its root. So if they're crammed in there, they have nowhere to go, and they all get like really thin and not worth growing. So that definitely is a crop that needs its space. Corn, I would say, the spacing is important because it needs proper airflow around each plant for that wind pollination to occur. Like the pollen will float around in the wind, float around the plants. And if they're crammed too densely, it's gonna mess up with the pollination and stuff like that. And my tomatoes, I have grown them many times 1 foot apart. But if you're in a high disease and pest pressure area, if you can grow them at least 2 feet apart, even better. That again improves airflow, helps have decreased amounts of diseases. It makes it harder for the pests to just like hide in all that foliage and stuff like that. So if you can give them 2 feet, even better. If you want to do 1 foot spacing and you're in a high disease pest pressure area like me, then that's where pruning is going to be your best friend. I try to do as little additional garden work as possible, including pruning. So I have been like, no, I got to plant mine 2 feet apart because I know myself, I'm not going to dedicate all this time to pruning and staying on top of them perfectly so that they have a nice open canopy and I get less pests and diseases. So if you're like me, plant them 2 feet apart and then you don't have to worry about the pruning situation so much. If you're in the north, like or more colder temperate climate where pests and diseases aren't as bad as they are here, you don't have to prune. I've had so many people say, well, I don't prune my plants and I still get good harvest. That's great. Yes, if you prune, you're removing some production, then don't do it. If you're in a northern garden, don't waste your time pruning. Just let the plant grow however it wants. But if you're in the south with the heat and the pests and diseases, sometimes if you don't prune, your plants will get, in such bad shape that then you don't get a harvest. So you got to find that balance there between should I prune, to prune or not to prune, basically. I still do some light pruning. I'll remove like heavily diseased stuff or whatever and kind of like maintain the shape of the tomatoes. But definitely planting them with some more space in between 2 feet helps reduce the dependency, so to speak, on having to prune so you get something. Hold on, let me pull the chat back up. Oh, someone's asking me a full garden tour. When my garden's not under construction and it looks like a mess, I guess. Yeah, I'm constantly, actually, you know what? It's in pretty good shape today. Maybe I'll show you guys what I have going on. But I have a lot of, I just built like a whole bunch of new raised beds. Literally the last 2 weeks we've been, every year, and I'll try to like expand a little bit. So there's a lot not planted right now. And it's empty, but maybe you guys just want to see the structure and kind of the layout or what I do. I guess I could show you that. That's fine. Oh, I'm out of, okay. Marmar saying that she wants to get some red Everglades tomato seeds. I definitely have more. I guess I just ran out of stock on my website. So after this, I thought I heard the snake. After this class, I'll go and I literally need to pack the seed packet. That's it. So I have my seeds. We print the label, put it on there, fill it up with seeds and stuff. So trust me, I definitely have more red Everglades tomato seeds. I just didn't realize my website is showing them as out of stock. So give me like an hour or two after this class and they'll be available again. The yellow ones, I'm growing them both right now in my garden too. They're gorgeous. The yellow one is much harder to find than the red, and I have a couple seeds of that still. I'll be out of stock soon though, for real, but I'm like harvesting right now too, so it's all coming back. All right, so I guess I'll just walk around my garden and show you guys what's going on right now. But like I said, a lot of it isn't planted yet because it's brand new, or I'm transitioning into going to be starting planting my my spring stuff. For example, all my tomatoes, so all the tomato seeds and stuff you guys got, I already started mine in December, and I will be transplanting all of that stuff maybe in like a week and a half. I need to see the weather and see if we're gonna get another like 30s within the next week and a half or so. If that's the case, and I'll wait a little longer. But anyways, I guess let's do a little tour here and show you guys what I have going on. I'm gonna put this away for now, the chat. Let me start on one end here. So I have a very small garden. I live in a neighborhood of houses. I do have an HOA. They're not the most strict HOA. Woof, birds. They're not the most strict HOA, which is great, but there's rules to what I can do. And I have a 1/4 acre lot. It's pretty standard. My house takes up like half of that. And the front of my house, I really haven't done much because of the HOA. They will get picky about whatever's done in the front. For the most part, they don't care what I do in the back though, because I have privacy fence, and kind of their rule has been, if we can't see it from the street, then we don't care. And so far, that's what it's been. I've been here for like 10 years. And I haven't gotten in trouble yet, but I'm always kind of iffy if they really notice what was going on here, if I would actually get in trouble or if they really don't care. But anyways, I know some of you live in much, much stricter HOAs that do care. Luckily, mine has not cared so far. But this is one starting point. My house is over here in the middle. So my garden kind of like goes around the house in like a U shape in the backyard. This privacy fence is awesome. I think it's like your standard 6 foot tall, because it helps when like harsh winds come, we get a windstorm, or a cold front or something. It blocks those winds from like depositing the cold into my garden, and it kind of creates a little microclimate at just a few degrees warmer, which is really helpful when you're, growing stuff during the winter. But this, how well can you guys see? I'm gonna adjust the tripod a little bit here and see if I could point it downwards a little bit so you guys can see more what's going on the ground. This was my fall planting of Seminole pumpkins. I have just now started harvesting, so it's at the end of the season. It looks really crappy, and I just have a couple more that are still maturing on the vine. And so I've been able to restock Seminole pumpkin seeds. I was out of stock for many, many, many months. So they are coming back through as I harvest and process the seeds. One thing about Seminole pumpkins is, for the most part, they're like cute little, like this size, about there. but it is still considered a land race variety. Land race means something that's like regionally adapted, and it could have some variance in the genetics. So sometimes, I don't know, I'm only saying this because some people contact me, your pumpkins might be a little bit bigger or oblong shape or something like that. And that's why, because it's a mixed genetics still kind of crop. So you might get the cute little fat ones like this, or they might be a little bit bigger and oblong, but that's the Seminole pumpkin. So this area is approximately 10 foot wide by 15 feet long. It's not that big, but I direct sowed seeds for multiple vines in here and just kind of kept it all growing on top of each other, and I got a really big harvest. I am going to be gutting all of this out once I harvest the last bit of squash here. Throwing all this leaf matter in the trash. I'm not going to compost with this, and I don't want to leave it on the ground, because this is, you know, if you're going to grow squash, you're going to get diseases and pests. There's no doubt about it. It's part of growing it, so don't freak out when you see it. But this is at the end of its life cycle. The leaves are dying back. The diseases are taking over. This powdery mildew and blight and whatever. This diseased leaf has spores and pathogens of that stuff. So you don't want this to just like fall on your soil and then leave it there, because that is introducing these pathogens onto the top layer of your soil, and they will just bounce right back up on top of the next thing you decide to plant here. So as best as you can, take all this material for squash and tomatoes. Tomatoes also get heavily diseased. Take all that material and throw it away if you can. Don't compost with it, don't mulch with it, don't nothing. Just take it out of your garden if you can, to help prevent the spread of those pathogens or whatever. So I got to clean this up. Once I remove all of this biomass leaf matter, I'm going to amend my soil. I've been getting more and more into amending in such a way to prevent root knot nematodes. If you're in the South and root knot nematodes are an issue, trust me, you have them in your garden. It's not like, oh, they finally decided to show up one day. They're there. They're part of your soil organisms at all times. It's just you don't notice them until their numbers and their population increases. They grow fast for whatever reason, and now you have a bunch of them that are attacking all the roots, and then that damage is really, really noticeable. So it's something that you should be managing at all times. So part of my management, I guess, process, or I don't know how you want to call it, is amending the soil every time before I replant the next thing with a ton of crab meal. A ton. I bought the big bags of like Neptune Harvest crab meal, because something about the chitin that the crab meal is made out of attracts a lot of beneficial nematodes that eat the bad ones. So you want a ton of that in there. You also want to attract earthworms as much as possible into your soil, because very long, complicated process. But when they ingest material, right, they're decomposting down whatever is in your soil. They ingest it, it goes through their intestine system. Their intestines are inoculated with different bacteria, just like ours is. And when they poop, which is called worm castings, insect frass, they inoculate the soil with that same bacteria. And those bacterias infect the eggs of root knot nematodes, and they infect them. They're parasitic to the root knot nematode eggs, and then I think they dry out the eggs. They dry them out, they're dead, they can't repopulate. So the use of insect frass and worm castings is super, 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 super important if you want to manage root knot nematodes. I'm trying to get into worm bin composting, but another idea I have that I'm going to experiment with, I don't know, maybe some of you have done this before, I don't know, but I got a little paper shredder that can handle cardboard, because I get a lot of boxes and stuff, so I have cardboard, paper stuff at all times, and it like shreds it super tiny. Because I've noticed in my garden beds and stuff, usually when I start a new area, I will put down layers and layers and layers of cardboard to like kill all the weeds and the grass and everything underneath, so I don't have to like till it or do a lot of hard labor to take off whatever's there to start a new growing space. So I put like 3 layers of cardboard, then you put all your soil in on top of that, and bam, you have like an instant garden. So I noticed whenever I use cardboard, that attracts earthworms like crazy. They love to chew down that paper product. It's carbon, basically. That is pure carbon there. So I think I am going to be like shredding this cardboard into tiny little particles and actually throwing it in my soil and kind of gently working it in with one of those weed hose to attract as many earthworms there. Hey, he's mad that I'm not giving him attention. Okay, he's a very needy dog. I'm sorry, Teddy. But anyways, so I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to do that. Why not? It's cardboard. It's not going to harm your soil at all. It's going to decompose down, attract the earthworms. If you shred it up fine enough, it'll probably even help aerate it and make it fluffy and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to heavily work in crab meal, the cardboard, worm castings, if you can find some. Because I'm a business, I have access to like wholesale prices on worm castings, which is still expensive. Worm castings is expensive stuff, but I want to prevent root knot nematodes as much as possible. I don't have a bad issue with them. I see them here and there sometimes, but if you don't like constantly work at it and manage it, it will overtake your whole garden. So that's why I want to start like implementing just good practice against that stuff. As a homeowner, regular people, to find worm castings, it's really hard, especially if you need it in high quantities. I know like Home Depot sells a little bag. I think it's like $8 for this little bag. So if you have like some like containers and grow bags, a smaller garden, that's probably good for you. I'm also thinking about doing compost tea, but using worm castings to again extract that bacteria from the worm casting specifically. I don't know if that's how it would work, but I'm trying to do some research and see if that would work. If it would help that bacteria grow, and then I could feed my soil with that bacteria. So, anyways, that was a lot, a lot on a lot of stuff, and I can't see the chat from where I'm at, so that's why I have the phone here. And then behind me here, I have some cattle panel trellises. Wait, let me move the camera real quick. Some cattle panel trellises that I literally zip tied to my fence. And it works. It hasn't like fallen over or any of that stuff. Just make sure you get some really, really thick, heavy duty zip ties. So I just zip tie them to the top of the post here, and it's holding this up. I have different kinds of peas, snow peas and stuff that I'm growing here. I don't know if they're going to make it though. I don't know. And then I have fava beans. Those should be fine. Fava beans are a cool season bean. They actually don't like the heat, none of that. So great crop, bean crop to grow if you're in a mild winter climate straight in the middle of the winter. So that's why I have some of those growing. In this area, again, root knot nematodes. I did grow cucumbers here before I planted this, and I pulled one out and it had root knot nematodes. So I cover cropped this with Caliente Rojo mustard. Oh, sorry guys, that's my AC that is right here next to me that just turned on. Brandon, if you're watching this and you can turn the AC off for me, please turn it off. That's my husband. He's indoors. Usually he watches my lives or has it running in the background. But anyways, if he turns it off, that'd be great. So I heavily cover cropped with Caliente Rojo mustard. It has a high amount of compounds that do like biofumigation in the soil and kill root knot nematodes. And I heavily douse this with that. I just finished pulling it out. It grew for 1 month and it was this tall. So I just gently pulled them out and kind of set them flat, all the material, to be kind of like a mulch. It's a living mulch, not a living mulch because I pulled it out, but like a green manure, so to speak. And that will further decompose down and put those compounds into the soil here. And it's also acting like a mulch, preventing weeds from growing while the fava beans and the peas grow in there. So that's what I'm doing to manage the little bit of root knot nematodes that I found pretty much only in this corner. But yeah, if I don't do this and I just left it and I kept planting stuff here By summertime, those root knot nematodes will spread because they love the heat. They love wet soils because it's easier for them to move in wet soils, which is our Florida summers here. Our rainy season, our sandy soil, all of that, they go crazy during that time. So you need to follow up with something to knock them back down, prevent them, that kind of thing. So that's what I have growing on here. Usually this would be covered in the peas or whatever. I think I may have direct sowed them from seed a little too late. But if not, I'll plant something else here. So we'll see. And then let me move the camera forward a little bit. This right here, you guys see that? So in the middle, you guys see me? Nah. All right, I'm gonna go back a little bit. All right, now you can see me. There was my Seminole pumpkins. I have another like 10-foot wide by 10-foot space here that I just broadcasted a whole bunch of seed, and it actually worked out really well. I did like dwarf petite French marigolds, which I do have seeds for that on my website. These are so pretty. They're like multicolored with red and like gold edges, different colors, really, really pretty. I threw cilantro in there, different kinds of lettuces, alyssum, a bunch of cosmos, the bright lights mix, which is these orange and yellow flowers that are here too. And it's starting to like die back. It's been growing here like the whole winter and fall and stuff, but it's really, really pretty. Attracted tons of pollinators in here, which then went out throughout the rest of the garden. And the flowers are just really, really pretty. And then this corner right here, I've got different kinds of root crops, all my carrots, beets, radishes, stuff like that. You're such a crybaby. Such a baby. He's the best dog I ever had though. I love him. He's great. So yeah, that's gonna be here for a couple more months. Yeah, he's like, I know usually my classes are like an hour long, and he's like right on the dot. But anyways, let me get back into the chat and check what you guys are saying real quick. Georgina, yeah, I forgot to mention that. If you're using cardboard in your garden and composting, obviously you got to take off the tape, the labels. Sometimes they have little metal staples in them, depending on what you're buying and stuff. Yeah, you got to remove all that stuff. That's not good for your garden. So yeah, it can be a little tedious, but I'll like remove them as I have boxes, and then I'll stack them all up. And then one day I'll go through and shred it all at once. So that's what I do. But yeah, what direction am I facing? The sun comes from this side, so that's the east, and it sets over there like west. This area is full sun for sure. So anyways, let's move a little bit more. I have a couple green stalk garden. I have 6 green stalk garden towers total, but I only have 2 set up right now. This one is full of short day bulbing onions because they grow great in theirs. You plant 1 per pocket, and I still get nice big onions out of that. And then this one is full of microdwarf tomatoes, different varieties that I'm trialing out, and some herbs at the bottom. But I think I'm going to be moving these in a different spot because they are casting some shade onto the crops that are behind them. So I'm going to have to move those. And then down here is my garlic. This is a garlic trial bed. I think I have a critter digging out and stealing the garlic. I'm not even kidding. I don't know. Because I keep finding like something move the mulch and there's a hole. And I don't think it's my dog. But anyways, so this is a different trial of garlic. They are all hardneck garlic, believe it or not. Because last year, the best garlic that grew for me, the biggest, nicest bulbs I ever got was from a hardneck variety. So the thoughts that as a southern gardener you can't grow hardneck is not true whatsoever. So last year I grew Vietnamese purple, which I believe also goes by the name Deerfield purple. And biggest, beautiful garlic harvest ever. But you have to vernalize as well. If you haven't vernalized by this point, you're too late planting your garlic. If you're in the South anyways. And I'm making a video all about that and the whole planting process. It's going to be a couple more months before that comes out. Or actually, I probably won't release it until next fall when it's time to be doing garlic stuff, to be honest. But anyways, I don't know how many, I think I have like 5 or 6 different varieties of hardnecks. I went crazy with anything that said Vietnamese, and then I found some that also said Korean. So I have Korean red, Korean purple, Vietnamese purple, and Vietnamese red. Because in general, Asian varieties of stuff grow really, really well for hot climate gardeners. So I really look at Asian cultivars of stuff for inspiration on what to grow in my garden. I have a Transylvanian, which is not an Asian variety, which I planted right here, and only one has popped up. I don't know about that, not sure. And it's also where the critter or whatever has been coming through and digging out. I don't know, maybe it just really likes that garlic, something about it, I don't know. I also have some elephant garlic in there too, but they look really, really good. The most important thing is to keep it weed free. They do not like other plants shading them out and that kind of stuff. So you got to keep it really, really good and clean. Around here, I don't know if you guys can see, it's a bunch of brassicas. I'm harvesting out my cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, all of that stuff. So this is fully mature plants. I'm almost done harvesting them out. And then I'll clean all this up. This is unused so far. I had a cover crop here, clean that out. Now I'm going to amend with the crab meal, the worm castings, the cardboard, all that before I replant. Not really sure what I'll put in the spot. Maybe peppers, probably. And this is Puerto Rican black beans. They look miserable because they don't like the cold at all, but I planted them kind of late last fall. They're still producing. They're still hanging in there. I need to harvest the seeds and dry, or well, after they're all dried out and everything, and then I'll be restocking on my website soon, maybe within the next couple weeks. This always sells out because it's very, very hard to find this variety. It grows fantastic as a black bean, a dried storage black bean variety if you're in a tropical climate. If you're a cold climate gardener, don't grow this because it produces when the day length shortens in the fall, which for if you're a cold gardener, your fall is cold and it will kill this plant before you get to harvest. So this is special just for like hot climate gardeners with mild winters and mild fall. But anyways, I'll be restocking that very soon. On this other side behind me is tons and tons of passion fruit. This is the yellow giant Brazilian passion fruit that I love to grow. It goes the whole length of my garden because I need multiple plants to harvest, and I also sell seeds for that too. So yeah, that's production there of just passion fruit. It's still beautiful, lush and green. The winter here has unfazed it because it's so nice and green. I do a lot of my YouTube videos sitting in front of it because it's a nice background. But all right, the rest of my garden, like I said, we just a whole bunch of brand new stuff, so not really too much planted. But I do have fruit trees, of course. This is, can you guys see me? This is Katuk right here. You don't see it. Let me move the camera a little bit closer. And just to give you perspective, we just walked that whole one side here, and now we're coming into the U, so to speak, U shape of it all. This is Katuk. This is super, super tasty as a fresh leafy green. It tastes kind of like nutty peas, but mild. Very, very good leafy green to grow if you're in a hot, warm climate where it's difficult to grow lettuces and stuff like that. This will keep going strong even in the middle of summer. So very tasty. I like to make salads with a combination of a bunch of different tropical leafy greens like Katuk, Sisho spinach, moringa even, just whatever I have. I'll collect a whole bunch of them and make your standard salad. Like if you like like Caesar salad or a Cobb salad, I make the same stuff. I just use these tropical greens or a mix of them instead of lettuces when I can't grow lettuce anymore during the summer here. But this is two different kinds of lychee. I always say it wrong. I can't remember what's the correct way to say it. So I'm just gonna say it how I say it. You know what I mean? This one is Mauritius, and that one is Brewster. Those are the specific cultivar names. I just like pruned back like all my fruit trees a couple weeks ago and stuff. So they might look kind of crappy right now, but they're bouncing back and producing new growth. A lot of fruit trees produce on the new growth, so it's good to like prune them back to encourage a flush of growth, and then you get your your production out of it. So these are getting really, really big anyways, and I just like really cut them back. But I love lychees, whatever. It's one of my favorite fruits, and they're expensive, so it's good to grow. They're easy to grow too. And that's a ladder because we were pruning those palm trees. But this is a Florida Hass avocado. I also heavily pruned this one back. If you have like a small property, you can plant fruit trees. Like some of mine are 6 feet apart, 8 feet apart, but you have to like prune them down. You don't want them to be like any taller than you are, because then you're gonna have a hard time harvesting, and you don't have space for a fully mature big tree anyways. So yeah, I literally stand next to my trees and I'm like, all right, cut right across over my head. Like that's it, just cut it all off for a lot of them. So this looks horrible, but trust me, she will grow right back and produce a ton. And yeah, that's just what you do. And then you use all of that pruning, all that material and biomass as mulch, compost, material. Like, do not throw it away unless it's diseased or something. Don't throw that away. That's probably like one of the number one things I learned in my permaculture class. You are throwing away fertility that your property, your garden has made, that you could be adding back that fertility into your soils and stuff like that. So use it. Don't throw it away. This is another avocado. This is Brogdon. One of my favorites. It's just very creamy, nice, savory flavor. Really good one. And then we're going to start moving into all the new stuff that we built. So when I need help building stuff, I'll get my brother and my cousin, and they come out and they help me with a lot of this, because there's just no way I can do all this on my own. So, I mean, I could. It's simple structures. It's not heavy. I could build this on my own, but it would take me forever with the time that I have. So I usually call the crew, and they all come and help me, and we knock it out. It took us about a week to do all this. I got this fencing. I just wanted to create like an entrance to this side of the garden. This is going to be covered in Thai double blue butterfly pea, which I sell seeds for as well. So I need to grow more plants. And this whole thing will be covered with that beautiful flower. Blue is my favorite color, specifically this turquoise blue. So you will see it everywhere because it makes me happy when I look at it. So that's why everything is painted blue. That's what I wanted. So I have beds on either side. This is a cattle panel trellis. I took one cattle panel, the 16-foot length ones, and we bent it over. These are T-posts. There's 4 total, 1 on each corner, and we use some really heavy duty zip ties to zip tie it to the T-post. Might not look like the prettiest thing, but it works, and it's going to be covered in a perennial flower anyways with the Thai double blue butterfly pea. So yeah, the eyesore won't be there very long. Or I can grow other stuff on it. I was also thinking to grow yard-long beans on it too, while the Thai butterfly pea flower grows in, because that's going to take a while. And then this side of my garden is basically just a bunch of fruit trees. So that's the Brogdon there. This is Namdok, my mangoes, which have started flowering. If you guys have mango trees, maybe you've noticed the mangoes are flowering a little bit early this year, and I think that's again because we just haven't got that cold. So it's a lot of the fruit trees are kind of confused. They depend on that cold to be like, oh, it's wintertime. And then when it gets warm or starts warming up, that signals to them, the fruit trees, that it's springtime. And then they'll start like flowering and putting on new growth and stuff. And sometimes they get confused because it's actually not springtime. It's just we got a little warm period, and they'll start flowering kind of early. So I don't know if this is actually going to take and produce, or we're gonna get some more cold, if that'll just like die back to flowers and then it'll put another flush later. I don't know what's gonna happen this year. We'll see what happens. And then this is a Mayor lemon bushy thing that I gotta get on fertilizing this a lot better. This is what's it called? Tree daisy. I mean, it's super tall. It doesn't have flowers right now though. Actually, let me see if I can get a bloom. This is tree daisy. It's kind of a rare plant. You don't really see it. And this is my hammock. This was like one of the best things I ever bought for the garden. We hang out here all the time. Let me just move it out of the way real quick. Anyways, tree daisy. I don't remember the botanical name for this. Monterosa grandiflora, something like that. It is related to Tithonia, or Mexican sunflower, and can be used in a similar way. But I find that it's not as like invasive as those two, or Tithonia, can be. And it produces these big white daisy flowers, hence the name tree daisy. And it's a tree. It's gorgeous. It blooms during the fall and winter. It just finished a bloom cycle. And from what I gather, the seeds aren't really that viable. So it's not something that you would grow from seed, even though it's starting to form a bunch of seed pods and stuff, but they're not viable. So to grow this, you usually have to find a plant. And I just started propagating this because I plan on selling it. But the reason why I wanted to grow this is because the flowers smell like chocolate. They're really cool. Chocolate, vanilla, chocolate chip, just really, really fragrant. And I can smell it through my whole garden. And it's one of the few things that will like heavily bloom during the fall and winter. So it really helped out the pollinators and all that kind of stuff. I originally got these plants from Codico Farms in Florida. So go support them first, please, before you buy from me. But I think they're out of stock pretty frequently on this. And I don't think they ship outside of the state of Florida. I know they used to be like that. I don't know if they're still like that, but anyways, I will have this available soon, hopefully, if all my propagations take and root and stuff. But let me see if I can find a flower really quick. I'll probably have to like break a branch down. Just a second. But it blooms like, they don't look that great. They're literally, it's done blooming, but they kind of look like this. Big giant daisies, but on these massive clusters. Like the whole thing was like covered. My aunt is still calling me. I gotta wrap up because I actually have to go there right after this. But yeah, they do smell like chocolate, and every time people come over, I have them sniff it and guess what it is. So just a really cool plant. And like I said, it can be used kind of similar to Tithonia in a permaculture setting. A lot of people like growing that for the biomass. And what I learned in Costa Rica during my permaculture course is that Tithonia as a species has a very deep taproot that mines out phosphorus and potassium out of the soils very well. It's one of the few types of plants that does that. So if you're trying to grow your own fertilizer and you're trying to do chop and drop, growing Tithonia is highly recommended because that will give you your potassium and phosphorus that you need as a fertilizer. You can grow tons of things that will give you nitrogen, but it's kind of hard to find things that will give you like potassium and phosphorus. So it is suspected that this tree daisy does the same thing, being related to those species. It kind of even looks like them. It has the same kind of stems and stuff and flower and leaves and stuff. But I grew it because it was just so pretty and it's a kind of cool plant. And then found out about its uses later on. But anyways, that's what's right here. It's not a fruit tree, but you know, support species matter too. I used to have a couple fruit trees here. I had a Kerry mango that I had for quite a long time, like 5 years, and I decided to pull it out because I have a small garden, and if something isn't going to produce well for me, I'm gonna yank it out and put something in its place that will. So I had a Kerry mango, excellent variety, like one of the best tasting mangoes I've ever had. However, as a mango variety, it seems to be very, very easily succumbs to black sooty mold and like all that stuff. Not all mango varieties are that susceptible. Like I have the Namdok Mai right here, literally like 15 feet away from where the Kerry was, does not have black sooty mold at all. But the Kerry mango covered in it all the time, and I was constantly spraying it and trying to help it out and treat it. Nothing seems to really help. And then what happens is when it blooms, the flowers get affected and then you get no fruit. So I haven't had fruit from that tree in years. And I finally had it and I was like, I'm going to pull it out and put a variety of something that will not require that much care and attention and susceptible to stuff that I have here that will actually produce for me. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to put in this spot. Not really sure yet, but we dumped soil here because if you're in Florida or an area where you guarded and you're close to the water table, you should be planting all of your fruit trees and perennials in a mound of soil to help with drainage. I can't tell you how many trees and stuff I've lost to root rot because I didn't know that. So we make a pretty big mound, 3 feet wide, equally as tall. I have to add some more soil. And then you put your fruit tree in there with amendments and all kinds of stuff. How many of you, just curious here, I have to read the chat. I haven't looked at I will look at the chat in a bit. I have to finish this tour. How many of you watch the Millennial Gardener? I've been watching him. Obviously, I watch a lot of other gardeners like Epic Gardening, Millennial Gardener, a bunch of them. I've been following them for years and I'm a huge fan. But if you didn't know, he bought property in Florida, but he hasn't moved here yet. I guess he's not planning on moving here for like 5 years or something. He's in North or South Carolina right now. But I love his channel, very fantastic resource. He does a lot of experiments with stuff on there that I find really useful and just interesting. But he just did a video where, yeah, I'm sure a lot of you follow him. If you don't follow him, you should, because he's coming to Florida or a hot climate area soon, eventually. But he just did a video where he came down to Florida recently, this winter, whatever, to check on his fruit trees that he had planted. And he was kind of giving a tour of what he was doing to help take care of them because they're like in really bad shape. He did not plant them, none of them correctly. Like they're all at ground level, just a whole bunch of stuff. I thought maybe to like email him, or I don't know. I don't even know if he'd see my email. And just be like, hey, I'd be willing to go over there and help you out and assess your land and plant it properly because, yeah, his fruit trees are not growing well at all. They're not in mounds. They're not elevated from the ground where all the rain is at. And yeah, it's a bunch of stuff. Anyways, he's eventually coming. Yeah, all of them are super helpful channels. And I do not deny that I get a lot of inspiration on stuff from them too. But anyways, enough about that. This is a Florida Prince peach tree. She just started flowering. Peach trees, nectarines, they'll usually flower first before they put on new growth. But normally when I see this, it's an indicator that spring is coming or has arrived. They go dormant during the fall and then they produce. I do have a squirrel that lives in my palm tree over here. They're territorial, if you didn't know. So he's been here for a long time. He will come walking across my fence here, jump on my peach tree, and steal all the little peaches while they're still tiny. So I haven't got like the best harvest last couple years because of that. So this year I think I'm gonna get these. I already use them in my garden for other things, but they're like little 5x7 organza baggies. They're usually for like treats and stuff. You find them on Amazon. I literally think I'm going to cover all of the little forming peach clusters to prevent him. Hopefully he can't open them. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. And get a peach harvest, because I cannot tell you the flavor of a homegrown peach that is fully like ripened on the tree. They're soft, they're juicy. Like, I don't know what's up with grocery store ones. They are hard and crunchy, like no flavor. You've never had a real peach until you've had a homegrown one, like for real. It's massive difference. So this is a Florida Prince peach tree. Right next to it, I have a sunracer nectarine, and they both produce and all that similar things. They're in the same family. Underneath here are really just bushy flowers that I plant to help the pollinators, different kinds of salvias. And this is, dang, I forget the name of this. I can't remember. It's a Florida native plant. Let me show you the little flower. It literally just makes this little purple bluish flower spike. There's a pinky red color one too that I've seen. The butterflies really love this, so I have that in there. But yeah, I try to fill the spaces underneath my fruit trees with something. It helps block out weeds. So these like have filled in this area very, very well. Sometimes I'll plant sweet potatoes in there because the vines will like fill up all this. Or longevity spinach, Okinawan spinach, Cuban oregano, like all these kind of like creeping types of plants, because you can kind of like push them down and keep them kind of like as a living mulch in that case. So I really like to utilize those plants in that way. What else do I got? Let me flip over to the new stuff. So this is right up against my house, what we've been building. This is brand new. Beds, I use pressure treated wood. I'm in Florida, nothing else is gonna last unless you're gonna use like concrete blocks or something like that. Go with pressure treated wood, and trust me, it's a myth that it seeps chemicals into your soil. That was like 3 decades ago when the way that they used to process pressure treated wood. Yeah, it would leach chemicals, but they've changed that process or something. It doesn't do that anymore. But if you're in a rainy, humid, tropical, subtropical climate, it's the only thing that's going to last. And I ordered soil in bulk because I needed a lot of it, and it was cheaper in that case to order in bulk. This is partially from leftover wood I had, so we used what we had. This is 8 inches width, and this is 10 inches width on the bottom, so it's a total of 18 inches off the ground. A lot of my garden beds are 10 inches. You don't need this other amount here, but I wanted them to be a little bit more elevated, so that's why we went with that. And we painted it, which will help it last a little bit longer. Behind it is more T-posts and cattle panel. I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna grow on that. Probably blackberries or raspberries or something like that. A perennial crop is what I'm gonna grow there. But I plan on putting all my tomatoes in here this season, 2 rows, very, very, very tall, on maybe like the hook and spool type of system. If you know, you know what I mean. So yeah, giant beds that I need to fill up. Here's a second one. Behind me, now we're at the last side of my house. It looks a little messy because I kind of store a lot of our supplies and tools there. This is a jabuticaba. And I know I didn't say that right. And it's I believe grown a lot in like Brazil, and how they say it is the correct way. So I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, but it kind of looks like a muscadine grape, but it tastes like creamy yogurty lychee kind of flavor. They're really, really good and very productive. But this loofah decided, this is the extra long loofah. It sprouted. I didn't plant it. It just, seeds were somewhere and it grew, and I let it, and it kind of overtook over the jabuticaba as a trellis, which I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother it too much. They are starting to dry out and be full of seeds, so I'm harvesting out the little seeds from it, and then the loofah sponge inside I'll use for something. We like to make like exfoliating loofah soap bars most of the time. But yeah, it just grew there. A lot of times if something decides to pop up in your garden, just leave it. If something is so happy it decided to grow up on its own without me planting it, I typically will leave it. So that's what this is here. And these things are insane. This is the extra long loofah variety. I do sell seeds for this on my website. I have different varieties of loofah because they're fun to grow, but literally like almost as tall as I am. That's crazy. Crazy. And then more new garden beds. One papaya. This is the Red Lady papaya. They're pretty pretty big papayas, actually. I was worried we might get a cold winter and it would mess up the fruits that were forming, but didn't get that cold yet. This is galangal growing in here, and a rosemary bush. Costco had these big rosemary bushes for like 14 bucks before Christmas, and I was like, I can't say no to that. I love rosemary, so I bought it. There's not really nothing much going here. This is my muscadine grapes that I pruned back once the leaves started like falling off, and it goes into dormancy for the fall and winter, because this is another crop that produces on new growth. So you heavily prune these back, and you also don't want the main vines, whichever main ones you select, to be longer than like, I don't know, like 6 feet or something from the main trunk. Here's the main trunk. So they are cut like severely, but trust me, they will grow back and they will produce a ton of fruit. So yeah, in the spring, it will start sprouting tons of new vines and leafy growth. Before I came back, it covered, there's only 3 plants here. It covered 2 cattle panel trellises, all the way, like full, huge, giant. And then all these are like plants I'm growing out to plant mostly at my aunt's house, dragon fruit and stuff. She has a couple acres of land, and I'm trying to build that up like a mini food forest. So I have to grow out a whole bunch of plants so we can plant them before rainy season starts again in maybe like May, something like that. So yeah, there's not much really going on here. I haven't really decided what I'm going to be planting here yet for spring, but we've started building, expanding, clearing out stuff so that I can plant on time for spring. All right, guys, this definitely went over. I'll just sit right here. Let me look at the chat really quick. See if there's any good questions in there, and then we'll end the class. Let me open it up on this phone. It's just way easier for me to read it. I know I'm gonna miss some of your questions. It's just kind of impossible to go all the way back through after giving you all a big tour. I'm digging in the dirt. Good to know. I won't forget about them though. That's like a family event when the peaches are ready for harvest, because they're that good, and we just like all harvest and collect with the family. The peach variety I had is called Florida Prince, but quite honestly, there's so many good ones. They're all really good. Just make sure you select a variety that is known to grow well in your area or your state. Like if you're in Florida, don't go buy a peach from like Georgia, because those are completely different, and probably won't produce well here. So just make sure you buy the peach variety for your state. So all wondering with Sean, to answer your question, yes, all fruit trees should be planted in a mound in South Florida, or in Florida in general. Excuse me, not really at ground level. That is the case if you are gardening in an area that floods a lot, gets heavy rains, and you're close to the water table. Because here in Florida, we're close to the water table. You just dig a little bit, and what happens? That hole starts filling up with water. That's not really the case for like a lot of other gardeners, like up north. They're not close to the water table. So what that means is there's a lot of moisture, excess moisture, at the root systems of your plants most of the time. And fruit trees and stuff that are repeatedly, we have a heavy rainy season, flooded, and that soil that it's in floods and stuff will cause root rot and all kinds of diseases and just issues. They should not be planted at ground level. Now, I'm not going to say, of course, tons of people plant fruit trees at ground level anyways, and they survive and they grow. But it also depends on the kind of fruit tree, if it can tolerate that kind of condition and stuff like that. I have lost many avocados, many peaches, many citrus trees before I learned that if you plant them in the mound, it just helps that main, their main portion of the root system just be in better draining soil, so it's not constantly being flooded out and causing that root rot. Patricia, yes, potterweed or porterweed. That was the name of that flower there. Where did I get my peach and nectarine trees? So I want to say I've had them for a long time. If you're looking to buy fruit trees, you need to go search local nurseries. So for you, that could be different. I don't know where you're located, but like your local city's nursery. Don't go to a big box store like Home Depot, Walmart, whatever. Go to a local nursery. So I've been to many. I think I got these two from, his name is called Nick's Edibles. He's like a backyard grower person, kind of like me. He bought like a couple acres in St. Cloud, and he has tons of larger like fruit trees, like 3-gallon size and up type thing. I've bought so many plants from him just because he's close to me. But he carries the varieties of stuff that will grow well, like in Central Florida and that kind of thing. If you're in South Florida, you should go to a local nursery there in South Florida, because they're going to carry those fruit trees that are known to grow, those specific varieties that grow well in South Florida. And same thing no matter where you're located, right? If you go to a big box store like Home Depot, yeah, I mean, sometimes they'll have the right variety, but most of the time they have the wrong things, like varieties of things that grow well in general for like the United States, but not particularly maybe for your area. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Home Depot, saw a beautiful blueberry plant, and I was like, oh, I want to buy it. And then I look up the variety, and it's a variety that, without having to get too much into detail, requires a certain amount of cold to produce, which only a northern, more colder climate would get, not Florida. So they carry a bunch of blueberries that aren't going to produce for me in Florida if you plant them, because we don't get enough cold to trigger production of fruit trees and plants that require, what's the word I'm looking for? A certain amount of cold period to trigger that production. So you want to look for low chill. Low chill. If you're in a warm climate, or you don't have harsh winters, that kind of thing, you want to make sure you check the chill hour requirement of your fruit trees and stuff. And make sure you get low chill, because we don't get enough cold to trigger it. So yeah, Nick's Edibles is where I believe I got those years ago from him. And you can only find him on Facebook. I don't think he has a website. He's on Facebook, so just search up Nick's Edibles. But there's a lot of other fantastic places. Like if you're in DeLand or that area, the Reed Farm, I actually did a video with them a few years ago, touring their property. They have a lot of fruit trees there too. Green Dreams, he's more like north of Tampa a little bit. He has a big YouTube channel. Miami has tons of places. Miami, South Florida, tons and tons. That's like a mecca for nurseries that grow out fruit trees and stuff, because of the humidity and the climate and heat there and stuff. So just whatever you do, wherever state you are, make sure you go to a local nursery. Don't go to the big box stores. And then someone's asking me if I sell shampoo ginger rhizomes. No, I do not. Years ago, I used to sell it, just the rhizome pieces, but I got a lot of people complaining that it didn't sprout for them, because it's not the easiest thing to get to sprout. So I started sprouting them and growing them out before I sell them in like a pot with some soil. So I know for sure the thing has sprouted for the customer, if that makes sense. So I do not sell rhizomes only for that reason. That was many, many years ago. Chill hours. Yep. Stratification kind of means the same thing, but it's not. With fruit trees, they use chill hours. When is the best time to plant fruit trees? That's going to depend where you're located. Like if you're in a warm climate, like us here in Florida, you don't get much frost. You definitely don't get snow, or like your ground doesn't freeze practically any time of the year. You can be planting fruit trees and stuff. If you're in a more colder climate, then I guess ideally would be spring, after your first spring frost date, probably something like that. And then that way that will give that fruit tree all spring and summer and probably some of fall to grow and mature and get established before the cold of winter arrives. Yes, I do sell shampoo ginger plants. I should have some in stock on my website. I have a couple more left. Just so you know, shampoo ginger goes dormant during the winter and fall. So all the foliage starts to look not the best, I guess, and it starts to die back. But your plant is not dead. I still have some, and they have foliage because I grow them out indoors in my nursery. I converted my garage into a climate-controlled nursery to house all my inventory that I sell on my website and stuff. So that way the plants are healthier. I don't really have pests or diseases. And if it's something that would normally go dormant, if you grew it outside, they're not dormant because they're in a warmed up little nursery area, so to speak. So my shampoo ginger plants in there still have green leaves on them. But I wouldn't be surprised if you bought it today and I shipped it to you that the leaves would start to die off unless you keep it in a very warm situation or climate. But it doesn't mean they're dead. They're just the top foliage. Like this is galangal, kind of similar thing. The top foliage dies back. It hasn't died back though this year at all. Again, we've had a very mild winter. But normally all this foliage would just die back, but the rhizomes, the roots and everything in the ground are still alive. And they will just resprout in spring. And sometimes too, the stems may arrive broken, or I might cut it down because it's just too big to fit in the box. And that doesn't matter. Like the foliage does not matter. You want the rhizomes, the root is going to continue growing and setting up new growth anyway. So if it arrives like that, it doesn't mean your plant is dead or will die. Not like other plants where, yeah, if the whole stem broke, the thing's not going to survive. So it's just letting you know, because those are questions I get a lot about those particular plants. But yeah, I have multiple shampoo ginger patches. A lot of them at my aunt's house. I have like 2 of them here. And somebody, because they're in the front of my house, they're ornamental, so I have those growing in the front. Somebody came, and this was like 2 weeks ago, cut all the flowers off and took them. And while they did that, the leaves are really tall. They're like 6 to 8 feet tall sometimes. They flattened down all the leaves. So I came out to my front yard, and all these huge leaves are like all spread out. I was like, what the heck? Like, I've never had somebody, which freaks me out a little bit, just come and like take my plants or stuff. So not happy about that at all. The whole thing is like destroyed and all the flowers are gone. And I would have been happy to share the shampoo liquid with them. They could have just knocked on my door and asked for some. But don't go and destroy all my plants. So anyways, that happened. Kind of reminds me of Epic Gardener's channel. He was growing like pumpkins or something one year. I think this was pretty recent, last season or something. And someone like smashed all his pumpkins. Like, come on. Yeah. We've thought about getting cameras now because of that. I live in a really safe neighborhood. I'm not worried about that. It just bothers me that somebody came and like messed with my plants. Yeah. Anyways, guys, this is almost gone for 2 hours now, and I gotta go. I gotta go to my aunt's. It is pigeon pea season. If you're growing pigeon peas, you know what I mean. They should all be flowering and producing. So my whole family, we're getting together over there, and we're gonna be harvesting. And that's also, I'm in production of a video of how to grow that too. So that's part of it, the harvest that I'm gonna go film. So I need to go. If you have any questions that I may have missed or something, please feel free to email me, info@jarrahsgarden.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me. And if you're interested in what I was talking about at the very beginning of this class and some kind of like site consultation or something like that, for your garden, let me know in the email. I'm just trying to figure out how I would offer those kinds of services, practice, see how that would go, if that's something I want to do, start doing this year. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.